Hey everybody, happy decimal day. Today we're going to start our adventures in learning about decimal tenths. And believe it or not, you guys actually already know a lot about decimal tenths. So that makes my job easier. You just might not think of it always as being decimal tenths. You probably are used to reading decimal notation when you see money values. But if you are thinking about what you already know about money when you're learning about decimals, it kind of makes things a little easier. This is a reference book that you're going to save to your drive, and I want you to use it to help you throughout this unit where we're learning about decimals, okay? Now, over here on the right, these are kind of like your table of contents. So you can click on these different items and learn more about each one, okay? So let's begin. What is a decimal? A decimal is, of course, the point that you see in numbers that indicates to you everything to the right of the decimal point represents a fraction of a whole number or less than one whole. Okay, now decimal amounts can always be written in fraction form. And when we write them in fraction form, they're going to have a denominator of 10, 100, 1,000, or other powers of 10. But we're going to start with 10, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Let's look at tenths first. This is a visual model that you're going to see a lot during doing your classwork. And this visual model represents one whole. This square represents one whole. It's been divided into 10 equal parts. You can count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And 8 of them are shaded. So if you are going to write this amount in fraction form, you would write 8 as your numerator and 10 as your denominator. To write it in decimal form, you would write it 0.8, and it would be read 8 tenths. This first place value position to the right of the decimal point is your tenths place. So every digit that sits in this spot right next to the decimal point, the way you read it is you say the number name and then you say the word tenths. So you could have 8 tenths, 7 tenths, 6 tenths. As long as that digit is to the right of the decimal point, that's how you would read it. Okay, now when I am saying decimal names to you, you guys are going to laugh at me because I'm really going to emphasize tenths. And you're going to start laughing at me. Miss Lynn, we understand you. I'm just trying to make sure you understand and can hear, especially virtually. I want you to hear the difference between tens, groups of tens, and tenths. 3 tens is equal to 30, which is, of course, way bigger than one whole. But when we're talking about tenths, we're talking about a value that's less than one whole. 3 tenths it's just a portion of one whole. My digit 3 sits to the right of my decimal point. So this is less than one whole. Okay, now here we have whole number that we're very familiar with, 852 and 7 tenths. Whenever you see this decimal point here, you're going to say the word and. In 5th grade, we're not going to read numbers like this, 852.7. That's not how we're going to read them. It's 852 and 7 tenths. I will make you read the place value word correctly. Okay, now you can also use these visual models to represent mixed numbers or amounts that are greater than one whole. So here we have one whole, two wholes, and 4 tenths. So that's how you would write this. 2 wholes, which are represented here with our yellow squares. And then we have our 4 tenths, which is represented here less than one whole. 2 and 4 tenths. Okay, so this is just another tutorial on reading numbers that have decimals. Now, some people will read this number like this, 714.3. And I'm not going to let you do that. If you read numbers like that during class, I'm going to encourage you to try it again, and I will help you. We're going to read it like this, 714 and 3/10. So we're going to read the whole number part, say and when we come to our decimal point, read the digit in our decimal place value position, which in this case is a 3, and it's in the tenths place. So the last thing we say the last decimal place value, 714 and 3/10. Okay, now we're also going to be representing how to show tenths on a number line. Now here, instead of a square that's been divided into 10 equal pieces, we have a number line that shows the space between 0 and 1. And this space in between the 0 and the 1 has been divided into 10 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice I'm counting the pieces, not the lines. I have 10 equal pieces. If I just count the lines, it's going to be a little trickier. So I have 10 equal pieces, and each piece represents 1/10. So if you were to hop from 0 and just hop from 1/10 to another, you could skip count by tenths. 0, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, 10/10, or 1 whole. Okay, so now if you've been taking notes during this presentation, that's awesome. If you have not been taking notes, that's okay. What I suggest is go back, click through each one of these slides, and just write down 1 or 2 important ideas that we went over for each slide. You should definitely have in your math notebook, you want to draw the visual model for showing whole numbers and tenths using these squares. So this would be a good thing to put into your notebook. And then it's also a good idea to show our number line model for decimal tenths as well.